On today's episode of Green Bay Nation, how big of a step back do the Packers take in the NFC playoff race, and how does Green Bay respond next week against the Giants? Plus, we'll answer your fan questions. That's coming up next on Green Bay Nation. Hello, welcome to Green Bay Nation. Lily Zhao here, joining me to chat everything Green Bay Packers. You know these guys every week. Editor, writer for Packer Report, and creator of the Pack-A-Day podcast, Andy Herman. Down there, Marcus Eversole, radio host on 107.5 and 1400 The Fan. And I want to start this show saying Marcus has now taken the lead in terms of our pick-em. He was the only guy who chose the 49ers. Me and Andy picked the Packers. But I want to say, coming off a bye, guys, I know you didn't see this coming either. Didn't expect Green Bay to have that type of performance and that type of blowout loss. So what were your initial reactions after that 38-7 drubbing to San Francisco?
It was disappointing. It was concerning. I mean, I picked the 49ers to win because I thought they did the things well that the Packers kind of didn't do well, if that makes sense. They could run the ball. They could get after the quarterback. Anytime you got a pass rush like the 49ers have, it can give any offense problems. But no one saw 37-8 coming. I mean, we all kind of looked at the cream of the crop in the NFC as this big group. Well, two of those best of the best squared off on Sunday night. One team looked like the varsity, the other team looked like the freshman team. It wasn't even a ball game, and that's concerning.
Yeah, you used the word that I exactly used on the Pack-A-Day podcast after the game, and that was concerning. And that is exactly what it was. You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I completely thought that Green Bay was going to be able to learn from their mistakes, pick up the pieces from that Chargers game, go back to California, show that that was just a fluke. But apparently, California and Bosa's are their kryptonite because this was another massive egg lane, and it was disappointing in every way, shape, or form. They got beat in every facet. Yes,
they certainly did. And, you know, Sunday night, the Packers had a chance to prove they could hang with the NFC's elite, like Marcus mentioned. But after that, I mean, how far do you think they've kind of fallen in this playoff race? Because currently they're the number 3 seed behind the 49ers and the Saints, who eked out a win against the Panthers. You know, guys, my takeaway, and I tweeted this out as well, they're a good team at 8-3. They're just not elite just yet.
You're exactly right. At least I agree. I mean, like I said before, it felt like they're the big 5 and then the NFC East. So the 5 teams, and there's not much separation between 1 through 5. Well, we probably, even if we saw 1 against 5 on Sunday night with the Niners and the Packers, I don't think you can look at what we saw in that game and think, yeah, but maybe if they play him again, they can get him next time. It was 37-8. I mean, there's clear separation now, I think, between the 5. I don't know which teams are better than the others. I think 1 through 4. Maybe the Vikings are right there with the Packers. I don't know. But what I do know, right now, the Packers are not as good as the 49ers. And if they want to make noise in the playoffs, they're going to have to get better.
They're going to have to get better. They're going to have to find a way to learn from it. But we talked a little bit about last week how important it is to get some home games or at least a bye in the playoffs. And that 1 seed is basically out of contention at this point. You know, they're 2 games back, plus they lose the tiebreaker to the 49ers, so it's going to be very tough to get that 1 seed. They can still get that number 2 seed, and everything's still in front of them. But having to go against 3 of those teams, and especially if you're having to go on the road, is going to be a massively tough challenge come playoff time. So that looming game against Minnesota down the road is huge, and they have got to figure out ways to pick up these wins over the course of the next few weeks so that they can go, you know, 4-1, 5-0 through the course of the remainder of this season.
Totally agree. We'll talk about that schedule in just a little bit. But, you know, first, Matt LaFleur did admit after the game they got outcoached, they got outplayed. And those 2 losses against the Chargers and the 49ers, I believe a lot of their weaknesses were exposed, weren't they?
They were. Now, on one hand, I think not a lot of teams have 2 premier pass rushers. In the Niners' case, they've got DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead. The man upstairs only made so many 6'7", 300-pound guys, like the Niners happen to have 2 of them. With the Chargers, it was Bosa and Ingram. The Niners also have a Bosa, as Andy mentioned. So, on one hand, of course, a pass rush like that can disrupt any offense. Fortunately, not every team has that. On the flip side, though, you got to control what you can control offensively. And right now, it seems like the Packers are just getting in their own way offensively. It's like what worked for them in October, running through Aaron Jones, using him in the passing game. Since Davante Adams has come back, they've gotten away from that, and I think that's a big problem.
And what did they talk about all week going into the bye week? It was going to be a week to self-scout, figure out some of the things that you were doing incorrectly, some of the things that you wanted to improve upon. There was zero improvement in this game at all. You talk about some of the special teams issues. They could not get the return game going once again. They couldn't win the turnover battle. Some of those explosive plays on defense. George Kittle's running wide open in the middle of the defense at the moment where you finally gain some momentum. You know, you couldn't spread the ball out and get Devontae Adams going. It was just everything that, you know, had been an issue up to this point that had cost them games, cost them this game, and all of them came up. So it's a major, major concern. And like you said earlier, it was a step backwards.
Yeah, and they had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and it was just disappointing that was the showing. But, you know, Aaron Rodgers in that game had perhaps one of his worst games statistically as a starter, 20 of 33 for 104 yards and a touchdown. But, guys, when you look at their upcoming schedule, the silver lining is that they have the Giants, the Redskins, and the Bears, 3 teams with pretty bad offenses. So they have a chance to right the ship, don't they?
They absolutely do. They're fortunate to have a pretty soft schedule from here on out. I mean, 37-8 left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. But then you push that aside, you look ahead. This team should be 12-4. There's one tough game left on the schedule, and that's at Minnesota. If they lose another game other than that, they slipped up and they lost a game they shouldn't have. So in all likelihood, they're 11-3 going to Minnesota for that game. Even if you lose that one, depending on what Minnesota does the rest of the season, you could still win the division. So a 12-4 record is good, but I think we saw Sunday night, if they want to make noise, if they want to be that team to beat in the NFC, 12-4 doesn't guarantee that you're not going to be one and done against the best of the best.
Yeah, these are get-right games going forward, and I think that they have got to take advantage of these games and playing against some rookie quarterbacks in Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins and kind of a rookie-ish quarterback in Mitch Trubisky.
Ooh.
But at the same token, you know, Green Bay's averaged only 148 yards passing over the course of the last 3 weeks, so you can't really talk smack about opposing quarterbacks if your offense isn't getting it done passing the football either. So they've got to get right in these next few games, have a massive game against Minnesota, and on the downside, they only have kind of one game that can really kind of test them against a playoff caliber opponent. They just had one against San Francisco and they failed miserably. They've got one left against Minnesota. You would like to see progress made by that point so they can go into the playoffs with some confidence.
Love it. Great point, guys. And we'll have a lot more to chat about the Pack, which is coming up after the break. All right, when we come back, we'll chat Packers, Giants next. Keep it here.